Yes, sir.
What's up, guys? We'll give everybody just a couple minutes to join, and then we'll get started here. All right, guys. Hope you guys have been or have had a good weekend. Let's go over the charts, see what we might be running into this week, and kind of just go from there. So we're going to start with SPY as usual, or ES. This is typically the chart that I like to look at rather than the cat chart SPY. So that's why I usually like to go with this one. If you have tickers you want me to look at, put those in the chat and I can go over those. But so as for SPY, we're in an interesting spot here. So if we kind of look at structure and how we've been trending. So over for a while now, basically, kind of created this downtrend. And then we broke out of that downtrend. And then now are kind of pushing higher, create a higher low here, create a higher high. And then now we're back here. So and made this low. So what was pretty important that happened this week was the break of this low right here. Typically, you don't want to see a higher low broken in an uptrend because that typically is the first sign that an uptrend may be starting to deteriorate. And so what we're looking at here is we kind of had this breakout, pulled back, everybody went short here, and then made a new high, and then came back down, broke that. So what I'm kind of thinking that we may run into coming up this week is possibly a small bounce, but really what the key factor is right now I'm leaning towards it may break down, but really that's not going to be confirmed until this is a confirmed low. So meaning today on Monday, we don't close below this level or move below that level. And then we break that low. So right here, and this is just regular normal market structure. So basically what I'm saying is I'd like this candle from Friday to be a low. And if we don't explode up and break past this high, then more than likely we're going to continue on some sort of small downtrend. I don't think this is going to be something that completely changes the direction of the market, but I do think that we could see some sort of small correction. But at the same time, it's kind of an unknown spot. Like it's been pretty easy the past few weeks. I mean, I've came on here and said, okay, we broke here, we're gonna keep going up. We broke here, we're gonna keep going up. Broke here, we're gonna keep going up. And then now we're kind of structure is like deteriorating, right? So past few weeks it's been pretty easy to say, okay, we're moving upside, we're moving upside. And just call that point of view. But now that we've kind of ruptured structure, I guess, it makes it a little more difficult. So naturally, what I typically see happen when something like this happens is once we break this higher low here, what a lot of times we'll do is we have breakout buyers that get in here, looking to short, and then typically what they'll do is run up the price a bit and then flush it down some more. And we also didn't get a clean test of 4,700. We got to 4,702, but we didn't get to that 4,700 level, which I would like to see us actually go and test. And that will be our first kind of major support. And then from there, if you notice what this will kind of end up, if it does play out this way, it will kind of end up just being a head and shoulders pattern that could potentially take us lower, which probable spot that will bounce right here, at the support level, really the support area. This will act as kind of a demand zone. We go look at the weekly time frame. That wouldn't be a surprising spot considering, like, look at the support we've had here. We go back. Yeah. So it wouldn't be surprising if we came back down and tested this area. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Now like I said, there's a few things that we're gonna have to look for to see that happen and kind of play out. But it's kind of like this move that we had here, right? Everybody thought, oh my gosh, we're gonna have this huge move down, or we're gonna continue to break down all the way to 4,000. I mean, we got 200 points away, but when you look at it, you can kind of see here what happened. We had this clear area of resistance, and I can tighten that up a bit, of resistance here, back in here. We broke above it, and then once we came back down, we retested it and then bounced. So let's see if SPY looks pretty similar. So SPY looks a little bit different because the contract switches are a little weird on ES sometimes. So if you look at the pricing on here, it's a lot more evident, right? So it was a clear resistance, clear resistance. So resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, resistance here, and then here. And then once we broke that, we had a huge breakout. And then everybody got scared once we had this big pullback. But really it was a retest of basically a resistance now becomes support. So that's all that was. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see a smaller version of this happen on here. So that's all I'm trying to say. So we have this support here where we rejected, might be easier to see on the daily time frame, where it was resistance here, and then resistance here, and then was resistance here. And now I wouldn't be surprised if we came back and retested this. So ultimately my thinking is we'll see something similar to this. Now we can look at SPY because it might line up a little bit different. And let's go over that real quick. So that would be right around here. So you can see how this acted as support here, or sorry, resistance. Here, 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 and here. So, and then we finally broke above it, right? So it wouldn't be surprising to see price come back and retest that area and then to see a bounce. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here. That's pretty much a gist of it. Like we broke structure here of an uptrend. And then now because we broke with this candle here, now we would just see this, some sort of this here. And then ultimately this will be a decision point, but I'm kind of expecting something similar to this here, or what we just went over, right? So there was this major resistance on the weekly time frame. We were rejecting it over and over and over again. And then once we broke it, we came back down. Everybody thought it was the end of the world. We came back down, retested it, and then exploded up. So I'm looking for the same thing. And we could use a pullback anyways. And I think this is a good spot for us to potentially look to see if we bounce off of, right? Okay. So that's kind of the analysis on SPY ES. No, I'm not bullish. Like I said, this is what I kind of think is going to happen. We had this break, and I think we're gonna retest this resistance that's now turned support. And basically I'm just thinking that we're gonna we broke here. So I'm thinking we're gonna pull back, like have a bounce early this week, and then come and flush and go test the support area here. And if you look at SPY, that support level is going to come around to be right around, and we can tighten that up even some too, like that. That really 460, right? So like it, if you include this wick, this big wick here, you can see we've got 460 right there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we came back and retested 460. Makes a lot of sense, right? So really what I'm looking for is a small bounce early this week, maybe some consolidation, and then a break of this low, which would ultimately take us to that 460. And then we'll have to see from there. But I'm kind of expecting us to bounce, especially because if we look at the monthly chart, now you can see it's very clear support or resistance now turned to support. So it really wouldn't be surprising if we bounce there at all. And then all-time highs is right here, and we can take that out. So that's kind of my analysis going into this week. As always, just going to play the setups. The plays that are in front of me right now. We have a potential 30-minute squeeze that may prove to be bullish. We'll see, but you can see how that higher low from that big sell-off we had has came out to be a very key support here. But I think we may get a bounce tomorrow. We'll see how the futures look in the morning. But right now, I'm thinking we may get a bounce here the next day or two. So that's kind of analysis on that. Some things that I'm watching going into this week. NVIDIA. I like this to the upside. Here's the 52-week high. Here's the key psychological level of 500. Um, we've got a daily squeeze. We've got a 4-hour squeeze. Once this kind of cleans up its act, and if the market bounces, I think that we could get the break of 500. Now, will it be sustainable? I'm not sure unless the market really decides to break out upside and take out this high here. So really, it's kind of an indecision week. But right now, we can't be bullish until kind of cleans up its structure. So so Nvidia is one that I'm watching to the upside. And then from there, sector that I'm paying attention to is XLU. This one, clean daily squeeze. What else about this one? Uptrend. We're in a clear uptrend. You can see it's been pretty steady. We've got a gap to finish filling. We've got momentum swinging to the upside. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it on this one. So this sector looks good. This is one of the sectors where I wouldn't really trade an individual name like Duke Energy or something, but um, maybe I would. This chart looks pretty good. But uh, point being, I like the utility sector, and I think that we could see some upside there. And then what was the other one I was looking at? XLP. This one also looks pretty good. Not ready yet. Needs a few more days. Maybe it'll be ready by the end of the week. But similar to XLC, this one looks good for some more upside. And yeah. And then as for like the dollar, I can go over this real quick. Well, really, dollar hasn't been as relevant. So we're continuing in this downtrend. We hit support. Now we're bouncing. Not really surprising. So bounced right off that support. Okay. So now one thing is we got to pay attention to rates. And this is an inverse chart of rates. So this is a regular looking chart of rates. So you can see we've been on a downtrend for quite some time. Been getting bought up, but I think this might be just a pullback in a regular downtrend. One interesting thing that kind of supports the idea that we may push higher early this week in the markets is the VIX. We had talked about this a little bit in the chat. Kind of formed like this a bull flag type pattern. Ended up breaking out of it and then sold off very hard and gave up all those gains. So, and then we pretty much formed this bear flag here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see us continue to push lower in the VIX. Gap to fill all the way down to here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go fill a gap early this week, get that little bit of a rally that I've been talking about in the indexes. And yeah, I'm thinking we'll probably go retest potentially 4,800. We'll see. But I'm expecting a little bit of a bounce. The thing is, how big is that bounce going to be? I don't know. And it's too early to tell. So like what I'm going to be doing this week is look for the bounce, trade the bounce. If we don't, and then if we start to sell off and roll over, then I'm just going to play it as is. I'm just going to play the charts and the signals that I get and not just make emotional decisions or stick with my bias because I feel like I need to. Okay, so I'll start looking over the charts you guys want me to look at. And if you have other charts you want me to look at, throw that in the chat and I can go over those. But first, Apple, this one, if anything, I'm gonna be bearish. I mean, you can see the selling pressure we've had, so there's no reason for me to be anything but bearish on this name. So yeah, I would look to short this name as there is no reason to want to get long on it. So yeah, this name is probably a good name to go short on, in my opinion, at least as of right now. Uh, XLV. This one looks good. Hmm. And yeah, just let me clarify on this one, like Apple. Um, I'm not saying just blindly short it down here, but what I am saying is just as if I was looking at this here, I would only be looking to go long. I mean, it's going straight up, right? Like obviously I'm only going to look to go long. I'm not going to be a someone that tries to pick the top. I'm going to follow the trend, and you can see if you try to short this, you'd get burnt. Now you can see here we're going down. Clearly continuing to sell off, gapping down day after day. So I'm not going to try to catch a falling knife and go short or go long. So that's why I would only look to go short. If like keep it as simple as you can. Is it going up? Okay. Then I probably want to buy calls. Is it going down? Then I probably want to buy puts. Now you got to have a strategy with that, but I'm going to follow what the price is doing. XLV. No, this one we've been range bound for a really long time. And so what we're looking at here is I think it's worth considering a short up here, considering we've been in this range for so long. Where we've just came to support, bounced, and we've just bounced off support over and over again and came up and rejected resistance. Now this was kind of like an intermediate resistance, but this one I would consider going short up here, but I would also go with the fact that if this breaks out, this could be a really strong breakout, at least to 150, and probably much higher. So it's worth the idea of a short up here. And then if it does end up breaking out, I just switch long because this is a big breakout potential because it's been ranging for so long. Like this would be like a monthly bull flag breakout. So um I like this one long for like an like a longer term trade, but shorter term trading perspective, it's worth the idea of the long or short, but really personally, I try to look for some sort of little pullback to see if I can get the breakout, catch the breakout, because that's going to be a much better move than trying to trade within this range. But yeah, there's a couple different ways to play it. Gets to the top of this range, short. And if it breaks above this range, would be a breakout trade. Or you can get into a longer term position and look for the weekly. Okay, so you can see the weekly starting to fire off. So I kind of like the idea of anticipating the breakout, and that's a lot of what I do now. So I like the idea of anticipating the breakout of this and catching a move to 150. At least 150. AMC. So I know that this one is, I read somewhere that it hit all-time lows. So there's nothing I'd want to do besides short this. Like nothing at all. Besides more than likely short it. So you can see here, we're at a high of around 493. Now we're at about $5. We're down 98%. So if anything, I'd be shorting this name. We broke major support here. You can see the last few times where it's bounced. And now we've rejected it a couple times. And we're more than likely probably going to continue to head lower. So that's what I would do on that one. I wouldn't do anything but short that one personally. Yeah. This one, a little weird. Price action is a little weird. Not totally sure why it's gapping around like this. Really the only thing I see here is potential bounce at support. That was resistance, now turning to support. So I think that one, it's possible, wouldn't be a terrible idea to go there. But I don't like this chart really. So I don't know. I personally wouldn't play it. Just because I think there's a lot clearer charts out there. But you could look for a bounce here if you really wanted to play it. Hmm. Okay, so XLY. Let's see here. This one, it looks like it's starting to break down, honestly. So nothing real. I don't really have an opinion on this chart. It looks like it's starting to break downside. That's my opinion. Um, let's see here. All right, I'm just trying to catch up on the chat. Yeah, XLY, nothing too much to do there. Airbnb, that's the next one. So this could be like a break of like an inverse head and shoulders break and retest. So this could be a pretty solid trade. Like I think that there's a good chance that this could have a good breakout here. Or so how I'd play this is I'd look, well, I really already got it. So I would look for the lower time frames to start to shift. So you can see right now we're starting to get a shift already, kind of making higher lows and higher highs. So like here, just the beginning of an uptrend. So I'd like to see it break above this high. and could be a potentially good long trade up into 150. That's a good risk to reward trade there. How's a weekly time frame look? Yeah, this one looks great. I like it. Especially from a longer time frame perspective. I think this one looks really good here based on this time frame. Uh, so I think the best bet is to play the longer weekly time frame. MCD. This one looks pretty good. Um, really, you just want to see a momentum shift, and this one looks good. Potentially a run into earnings. Um, it looks very similar to the market, so it's probably going to follow what the market does. But at the same time, I think that it's probably only a matter of time before we go and tag 300. So I'd keep an eye out for that. So I'd wait for a momentum shift, and then you could look to take it to 300, or at least this resistance here. You gave this one to me last week. I think it looks good. I mean, the pattern looks good. Well, now looking at it from here, it gets a little sketchy because I mean, we talked about it last week and it still hasn't broke out. You can see a failed breakout here, failed breakout here. That's where it starts to get a little sketchy. So, it might just be best to wait on the actual breakout because at this point it's starting to create a high compression squeeze. Those ones usually can cause a reversal. They get a little tricky. So I'd be cautious on this one and maybe just wait for the breakout because it hasn't made up its mind. It had a nice run up. It looked good last week, but it's failed its breakout attempts a couple times. So it makes it a little weird. So I would wait on the breakout for that one. Tesla, we've got this trend line that we've been following for quite some time. We traded this one to the upside, got in here and caught the move up to here, and got stopped out in profit. But this one here now, there isn't a lot of decision. Weekly time frame could be starting to roll over. This one, there's just nothing clean about it. So I don't really. And if it's not clean, usually that means it's a short. So I think you may have some trouble because right now you're at support, but I think that this could be a potential short and go fill this gap here. A little weird how it's trading, but I think if it breaks below the support, it's a fake out like of a breakout, and you could go short. But like I said, this one's not clean, so I don't love it. MPC. This one, if it doesn't bounce here, then more than likely it's probably going to be a failed breakout and go back into this range. You can see there's clear resistance here. We rejected here, here, and here. So at this point, I don't know. It looks like it's back in its range. If it doesn't bounce here and start to bounce, I would stay away from this one. I don't really like it. It failed the breakout. Now you just got to wait and reset and see what it does. WMB. This one looks good. Stacked EMAs. You've got momentum shifting to the upside. You got a retest of this support here. And you've got a weekly squeeze. This one looks pretty good. So yeah, I like this one to the upside. I'd like to see it hold again, maybe tomorrow, just for confirmation. But right now, it looks great. XLE, that's so WMB and MPC are kind of contingent on that. This one, it's failed to break out of this resistance here a few times. So that's where you have to be cautious, because if XLE can't break out, then those other ones won't do good either. Uh, so yeah, you have to be cautious of MPC and WMB because XLE has failed to break out a few times. So, and it's not a clean long, so it's just kind of like nothing to do there at this point. Um, this one gap down at support. Honestly, the only thing I see to do here is play. If I was going to do anything, I would anticipate the break of support and play this one short and look for this to make a new low. It's the only way I'd play this one. You can see we've tested this support so many times. It's bound to break at some point. The more times we test it, so I do think this. The only way I'd play it is anticipating a break short. Yeah, yeah. I don't do too much crypto, but can look at Doge. I'll look at it from a longer term perspective. Uh, I don't like it. I don't like it. It's just there's a lot of baggage up here. We've talked about this a lot in these classes. There's a lot of people bag holding up here with Doge. They're like, oh, once it comes back to break even, I'm gonna get out. Once you get back to break even, I'm gonna get out. And I think that's going to happen. I wouldn't play that one or look to get long on it. This one looks a little bit better. Just because of the strength of the breakout. Daily squeeze firing short, so I wouldn't get long right now. I'd at least wait for momentum bars to shift. But as of right now, there's like no long setup here. I like if I was gonna play any crypto, I would just go with Bitcoin because the chart looks great, and we're bound to go hit that 50,000 at some point. Did we go over AMC? Yep. So yeah, if anything, I'd be shorting this one. It just made a new all-time low, broke major support back here from when we had that huge push from whenever this was back in 21. So if anything, we're at all-time lows. I would only be looking to short this. TTC. This chart is kind of messy, but the only thing I look for is a bounce at support. At this resistance that's now turned to support. But yep. All right, cool. I've gotten through the list. Thank you guys for coming. I'll see you for the markets tomorrow. If you're interested in our signals chat, we're doing 50% off. Code is 2024, and you can sign up in the Discord. And I will see you guys for the markets tomorrow.